As Johnny Rotten said, anger is an energy. As Mick Jones and Joe Strummer said, anger can be used. Anger can be power. And who better to look to than some of the great leaders of punk rock? That movement that epitomized anger and used it to craft a new kind of music. Talking about not just musical anger and musical angst, but angst felt as per the limits of a future, limits of potential in society. Anger is a part of human life. We all have gotten angry. We have all flown off the handle in rage at some point in our lives. And we all, no matter how peacefully we come to terms with ourselves in the world, we all experience anger. And anger is not something to run from. It's not anything to be afraid of. It's not anything to be scared of. But it is a power. It is an energy, and we have to learn how to channel it. We have to learn how to use it instead of letting it use us. It's much easier said than done, like most things. How do we use anger and not let anger use us? For one, we have to understand ourselves. We have to understand where the anger is coming from, why we're feeling angry, what exactly it was that has impinged upon us. We have to identify the source of the anger. Now, for anger that goes back decades, it is very difficult sometimes. But no matter what, we have to understand ourselves, all facets of ourselves. And especially with something as volatile, potentially volatile, as anger, we have to understand where the anger comes from, what happened, and as much as possible understand the sources of other people's actions, why they acted the way they did, why they said what they did, that impacted us and made us so angry. Now that's not always possible. We can't always find out why that person said that, why that person did that. And ultimately, we have to come to terms with it in our own self, not trying to figure it out from the external, from the outside world. Now again, anger is an incredible power if we use it, if we don't become used by it. We all, again, have felt what it's like to just completely let ourselves go over to anger. It's not pretty, it's not fun, and even if it feels somewhat justified, somewhat good in the moment, it never works out. And it just really doesn't when we let ourselves just be consumed by the anger and just, oh, I'm going to say whatever I want, I don't give a fuck, I'm going to do this. And there's a better way. There's a better way. Indeed, allowing anger to subdue us, allowing anger to completely overcome our mental, our emotional processes, it leads to very dangerous things for ourselves and others. Let alone it just doesn't feel good, not really. And not to mention the consequences of it are harsh. Think of how many people are in prison today because of anger. Think of how many people hurt themselves and others because of anger. Think about how you have done that, we've all done it. We've all experienced what it's like to just... Now, from what I understand, from my experiences, anger can be used. It's tough, because to be motivated by anger and to not be consumed by it is a very fine line to walk. You have to, it's practice, I find. Tuning into the present moment. Boom, here I am. I'm focused, I understand, I'm grateful, I appreciate what's going on around me. But I also feel this anger. I've searched myself, I know where it's coming from. Use that anger. Let it push you to break down barriers psychologically. between yourself and other people in positive ways. Use it to give yourself courage to say what needs to be said, to do what needs to be done, without being violent, without being vindictive. That is the great line here, is not letting, again, anger use us. Anger uses us when we're being lower level egos, when we're being angry in the sense of, oh, so-and-so did that to me, I'm going to be vengeful, I'm going to get them back. No. Speak truth. Let that anger push you forward and say, listen, this wasn't okay that you did this. Or if the situation calls for it. Because not every situation is going to call for using anger so directly. But sometimes anger can really help us in calling out people on stuff, especially close loved ones that we live with for a long time, and we just take for granted some of the very challenging things that happen in intimate family relationships or friendship relationships. Use that anger to say, that give you the courage to say that wasn't okay. Don't use that anger, don't let the anger use you to then stab that person, you know what I mean? Of course literally, but also figuratively. Where you have this conversation with a person and instead of letting anger say how you feel, not violently, not hostilely, but firmly. And yet, with gentleness as well, recognizing that is another person, but still asserting yourself. That is the better way instead of letting anger overcome you. And going to that person and misusing that situation, misusing that energy that's at your doorstep with anger by trying to hurt them. Whenever anger is used to hurt other people, it is a misuse of anger. We must channel it into healthy outlets. Working out is a great outlet. Doing something you're passionate about, practicing, doing work. Everybody is going to have different outlets for anger and how they deal with it. For you, look to where your Mars is. Mars is the principle of anger, of power. As is Pluto, but Mars is the easiest thing to deal with. The easiest principle to identify with when it comes to anger. If it's in a fire sign, for example, mine is in a fire sign. Do it creatively. Do it. Working out for me is a wonderful outlet, and just express it in a way that's not gonna come back to haunt you and come back to hurt you. If you need time to let the anger simmer down, no matter what your Mars sign is, give yourself the time needed. Don't feel pressured by yourself. Don't feel pressured by other people. It doesn't matter what they say or do. Allow yourself to put it under lock. So that, and again, we're not meant to run away from anger. We're not meant to hate it or or try and diminish it in any way. We just need to understand how to use it. And especially at the time of the making of this video, where Mars is in Scorpio, conjunct Saturn, the entire world is learning how to use anger right now. There's a lot of challenges around the world, especially at the making of this video in Israel and Gaza. And there's so much anger, and this is an opportunity for us to learn how to harness that anger, how to restrict it in healthy ways. Not just bottling it all up, burying it in the depths of our psyche, hoping that it won't affect us, hoping that it'll just magically go away. But learning how to use anger, to channel it, to give us the courage we need to do what needs to be done for everybody's benefit. Again, sometimes we're not going to be able to express our anger directly to the person who made us angry. And that's okay. We just need to find outlets that are beneficial for us in our lives. For me, I love meditation. I've been meditating more and more. And meditating and having a little inner dialogue, a mantra, really helps. I used it today. after some deep-seated anger for the past 14, 15 years came up. Stuff that I'm learning how to deal with and to channel. And I just sat there meditating, saying to myself, I'm going to sublimate this anger. I'm going to make it into something that's helpful and beneficial for me. Something that is going to push me forward in my life, be more authentically me, be more fearlessly me, and to just use this anger in a positive way. I refuse to let this anger destroy me, to let it overcome me. That's not going to be helpful, and I don't want that for myself or others. I will channel this anger into a useful form. I find that to be extremely helpful. It's really helped me actually today. And if your Mars is in a water sign, not burying it down, not trying to run from the anger, but expressing it again in a healthy outlet. Letting you nurture other people more, or more likely meditating. Because very often when we're angry, we're very just, our entire energies are just agitated. Body, mind, heart, soul, we're just, soul level, we're far beyond anything as base as anger. But very much it's so challenging, it really is. And that's when we need to get off by ourselves. We need to go channel it in healthy, constructive ways. So all the Mars signs could use meditation, but especially the water Mars. For air Mars, writing it down, communicating it. Maybe not so much directly communicating to the person, but maybe writing it down in a journal so you can look back and I've actually done that. And I found that to be helpful. To try and channel that anger into thought and to try and make sense of it. And if you're feeling up to it, even to then make plans on how to use that knowledge that you gained from what made you angry in a beneficial way for you and others. And if you do feel centered, if you're feeling anger under control, not buried, not bottled up, but you can live with it and you can be in the present moment. You can be here and go, okay, I still feel, that still makes me angry, but I can deal with it. I can let my words come forth and not be violent with them. I can be forceful, but not violent. I'm not going to hurt other people in any way, shape, or form. Okay, I can deal with this now. This is going to be my impetus. This anger is going to push me forward, but it's ultimately going to push me forward to heal, not push me forward to be destructive in any way. If you feel like that with Air Mars, for example, you could even construct a letter, and I'm kind of wary of this because it can so easily veer into words that are daggers, which is very likely for Mars and air signs. And sometimes it is better to address face to face, but just as a solution, a possible solution, you'll have to figure out for yourself if it works for you or not. Writing down what made you angry in a letter to try and understand and reach a resolution. Again, to reach a resolution, not to hurt anyone. It could be very useful for those who've angered you. And as per Earth, again, it's very important to not squash it all down, to try and bury it. It's very important to allow it to help you in some way. For Earth and Fire Mars, I find working out to be extremely beneficial. Going for a walk where you can calm down really helps for both of those signs, but especially the Earth, Mars. And perhaps even more so, constructing something. Again, agitated energies, maybe it's not the best time for artistic endeavor, but if it's, better to construct a sculpture when you're angry than to go out and punch somebody. Always better to do anything other than violence. So, I hope this has been helpful. These have just been some solutions, some thoughts. I encourage you to find whatever outlet works for you and to let anger be used in your life. Namaste.